Welcome back to the Top 1% Book Club. Today, we're going deep on flow by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi.
It's all about, those peak experiences.
Right, like how to focus your energy on what really matters.
And how to really boost your creativity and productivity and just find that overall satisfaction in life.
Yeah, and when I was reading the book, I was thinking about those moments when I was completely absorbed in a project,
Mm-hmm.
like when you completely lose track of time because you're just so focused.
Yeah.
Is that what Csikszentmihalyi is talking about when he says flow?
That's a perfect example. Think about a rock climber scaling a super difficult cliff or a musician who's totally lost in their music.
Right.
They're so engrossed in what they're doing that everything else just fades away.
Yeah.
And it's not just about enjoying what you're doing. It's about this heightened state of focus and engagement
Okay.
where you can really unlock your peak performance. And Csikszentmihalyi says this is one of the most fulfilling experiences a person can have.
I'm starting to see the appeal. But the book also talks about apathy.
Uh-huh.
How does that fit in?
So think about when you're mindlessly scrolling through social media or just binge watching something.
Yeah.
It might feel good in the moment, but it doesn't really leave you feeling happy or like you've accomplished anything.
Right.
Csikszentmihalyi calls that apathy, and it's basically the opposite of flow.
All right.
So to avoid that apathy trap and experience more flow, we need to find those activities that challenge us
Yeah.
and really engage our skills.
Exactly. And flow goes deep into the psychology behind all of this.
Oh, great.
He explores how our consciousness works and how we direct our attention and ultimately how we can create more of these flow experiences in our lives.
So it's not enough to just understand it. We actually have to put it into practice.
That's it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's like you were saying with that rock climber.
Right.
It's all about practice. It's all about, building that muscle. Yeah, it reminds me of athletes and musicians who practice for hours and hours to really hone their skills.
Exactly.
To reach those flow states.
To reach those flow states.
It's like that dedication, that commitment that leads to mastery.
Exactly. Consistent action, the book says, is crucial for achieving mastery.
Okay.
And the more you practice entering those flow states, the easier it'll become.
Okay, so then how do we integrate that into our everyday lives?
Right.
I mean, it's one thing to experience flow when you're, playing an instrument or rock climbing. But what about at work or in our leisure time?
Right. Those can seem like totally different worlds.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. And that's where flow gets really practical.
Okay.
Csikszentmihalyi challenges the idea that work has to be this thing we endure just to get to the weekend.
Interesting.
He says that work with the right mindset can actually be a source of flow.
Oh, that's a great idea. But how do we find flow in our daily grind? A lot of jobs can feel repetitive or even restrictive.
That's
Is he saying we should all quit our jobs and become artists or athletes?
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's more about, shifting your perspective and finding ways to structure your work
Okay.
so that it challenges you,
Uh-huh.
Think about tasks that push you a little bit beyond your comfort zone. That's usually where the flow happens.
Okay, so finding those opportunities.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. But then what about finding flow during our free time?
Right.
Shouldn't leisure be inherently enjoyable?
It seems like it should be, right? But Csikszentmihalyi says that leisure can actually be really tough when it comes to fulfillment. Think about it. We spend so much time trying to get free time, and then when we have it,
Yeah.
we're bombarded with choices and we end up bored or just defaulting to bad habits.
I've totally been there.
Yeah.
It's like we figured out how to achieve leisure, but not how to actually enjoy it.
Exactly. The key is to be intentional with our leisure time. So instead of passively consuming entertainment, how can we actively engage in activities that challenge us
Right.
and bring us into that flow state? That's the real path to a fulfilling life, both at work and in our free time.
So how do we actually cultivate this flow state? What are the practical steps?
Well, flow breaks it down into a few key components, and it starts with having clear goals, knowing exactly what you're trying to accomplish.
Sure.
Think about a marathon runner who sets a specific time goal.
Yeah.
It gives them that focus and direction for their training.
I mean, having a target in mind definitely helps me focus.
Right.
And I'd imagine that getting feedback along the way is important too.
Absolutely. That feedback loop is crucial.
Okay.
Think about a surgeon who's operating. They can see the immediate results of what they're doing,
Right.
and it allows them to adjust their technique as they go.
Yeah.
That immediate feedback helps them achieve the outcome that they want.
So clear goals and feedback are key. Yeah. But too much challenge without the skill to back it up could be overwhelming.
Right, exactly. That's where finding the balance between challenge and skill comes in.
Okay.
The task needs to be stimulating enough to engage you, but not so difficult that it just stresses you out. It's about finding that sweet spot where flow thrives.
Finding that sweet spot.
Yeah.
Okay, what else is there?
Well, the next thing is what he calls merging of action and awareness.
Okay.
And that's basically when you become so absorbed in what you're doing that your actions become almost automatic.
Like being in the zone.
Exactly. And then the last component is excluding distractions.
Right.
You know, when you're really in flow, the outside world just fades away.
Right.
And you're completely focused on the task at hand.
So we've got clear goals, immediate feedback, a balance of challenge and skill, merging action and awareness, and excluding distractions.
Those are the building blocks.
Okay, that sounds simple enough in theory.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing it's a little harder to apply in real life.
Yeah. It's definitely not always easy.
Right.
But flow gives some really interesting examples of how these components come together in different fields.
Okay.
Like take internal medicine practitioners, for example.
Yeah. Okay.
They don't have the immediate visual feedback that a surgeon has.
Right.
So where's the flow in that?
Yeah.
Well, it's in the challenge of accurately diagnosing an illness, you know, piecing together all those symptoms and test results.
Yeah.
They have a clear goal to reach an accurate diagnosis.
Yeah.
And that gives them that satisfying feedback loop.
So even in professions that might not seem inherently flowy, there's still the potential to experience those states.
Exactly.
Okay.
What's so cool is how flow doesn't just make us feel good in the moment, but it actually helps us develop in the long term.
Okay.
It helps us build a more complex self.
What does that mean, like building a more complex self?
So through these flow experiences, we're always pushing our boundaries, you know, learning new skills and gaining a better understanding of the world. This leads to what Csikszentmihalyi calls differentiation, which is basically becoming more unique and independent, but also integration, which means connecting more deeply with other people and with ideas.
So it's like becoming a more well-rounded person, capable of navigating all of life's ups and downs.
Yes.
With more purpose.
Exactly. And that's really the power of flow. It's not just about those fleeting moments of enjoyment.
Right.
It's about like developing a way of being that leads to a richer, more meaningful life.
That's a powerful thought.
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot more to unpack here.
Oh, for sure.
So let's keep diving into flow and see what other insights we can find.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
I'm ready when you are. This idea of, you know, building a more complex self through flow.
Yeah.
It reminds me of a story that Csikszentmihalyi tells about a Polynesian tribe.
Oh, yeah. Wasn't that the one about the tribe that moved their whole village every few decades?
That's the one. They had like everything they needed, food resources. But the elders, they recognized that if they just stayed in one place, they would become stagnant.
Yeah.
And it would lead to apathy. So they knew that to keep growing and to stay vital, they had to keep pushing themselves beyond their comfort zones.
That's so interesting how they understood that instinctively.
Right.
It's like they knew that true fulfillment doesn't come from seeking comfort, but from actively engaging with life and challenging themselves to learn and grow.
Exactly. And that's like so different from what we do today, you know?
Yeah.
We tend to settle for passive entertainment.
Right.
And the comfort of our screens.
Yeah, totally.
But Csikszentmihalyi says that this pursuit of complexity, this willingness to embrace challenges, that's what leads to a life full of flow and meaning.
That makes me think about something else that struck me in the book.
Okay.
He talks about like the potential downsides of flow.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like the possibility of becoming addicted to the feeling.
It's like anything else, too much of a good thing can be detrimental.
Right, exactly.
You've got to find that balance.
Yeah.
You can get so caught up in a flow activity that you start neglecting other important parts of your life.
Yeah, like your relationships or your health.
Exactly, your responsibilities, all that stuff.
Right.
So the book reminds us that flow is a powerful tool, but it's up to us to use it wisely.
Okay, so then how do we strike that balance?
Yeah.
How do we make sure that we're not just using flow as an escape from reality?
Well, the key is to integrate flow into a well-rounded life.
Great.
You know, use it as a source of energy and inspiration for growth.
Yeah.
And the book talks about how different cultures throughout history have developed specific activities to help people reach these flow states.
Like what?
Well, like games, rituals, art,
Right.
all these structured activities that are designed to make it easier to enter that flow state.
It's like they're providing a framework or like a set of rules.
Exactly.
that helps us get into that zone.
Yeah. Like, take music, for example. The book talks about how cultures all over the world have used music to focus attention and to create shared emotional experiences.
It's amazing how something as abstract as sound can have such a powerful impact on us.
Right. On our consciousness, on our ability to connect with ourselves and with other people.
Yeah, totally.
And Csikszentmihalyi is careful to point out that it's not just about passively listening. It's about actively engaging with music.
Okay, so
like learning to play an instrument, singing in a choir, composing your own music.
Okay.
That's where the real potential for flow lies.
So it's about taking something you enjoy.
Yeah.
And finding a way to participate in it.
Yeah. Instead of just passively consuming it.
Right. Okay. Does that apply to other areas of life too?
Absolutely. Think about cooking.
Okay.
You know, the book talks about the difference between mindlessly eating and really savoring a meal, appreciating the flavors, the textures, understanding where the food came from.
Yeah, it's like transforming something ordinary into a multisensory experience.
Exactly. And flow says that this mindful engagement, this willingness to invest our attention and energy, that's the key to unlocking flow in any activity, even something like work.
Okay, right, because the book challenges the traditional view of work as this like necessary evil.
Yeah.
It says that work can be a source of flow and fulfillment, but is that realistic for everybody?
It might require a shift in perspective.
Okay.
It's about finding work that aligns with your interests and your skills, work that challenges you and allows you to grow.
So it's not about finding the perfect job.
Right.
It's about finding ways to create flow within the work you do, no matter what that is.
Exactly. And the book gives this great example of this guy, Joe.
Oh, yeah, I remember Joe.
He was a railroad welder.
Right.
And he took his work environment and turned it into this space for creative expression.
It's a great story.
Yeah.
It really shows the power of personal initiative.
Yeah.
You know, finding ways to make any job more meaningful and challenging no matter the circumstances.
Exactly. And it all goes back to this concept of the autotelic personality.
Oh, yeah. The flow magnets.
Yeah, exactly. They're not just lucky.
Right.
They've developed a mindset and a set of skills that allows them to create flow wherever they go.
Yeah.
They're always looking for challenges, exploring new possibilities, finding ways to deeply engage with the world around them.
So what makes them different?
Right.
This is something we can learn.
That's the exciting part. Some people might be more naturally inclined towards this autotelic mindset.
Yeah.
But flow suggests that it's a skill you can develop through practice and intention.
So it's possible for all of us to become more flow prone.
Yes.
Okay.
We can approach life with more curiosity, more engagement, and find those moments of joy and fulfillment in unexpected places.
Okay, but how do we do that in a world that's constantly trying to distract us?
That's the challenge, right? Yeah. And Csikszentmihalyi talks about the importance of what he calls taming solitude.
So learning to be comfortable being alone with our own thoughts.
Exactly. You know, in a world full of constant stimulation, it's so easy to lose touch with our inner selves and become dependent on external sources of entertainment and validation.
Yeah.
So we need to build up those flow muscles so we're not always relying on something outside of ourselves to feel fulfilled.
I like that, flow muscles.
And the book gives some strategies for how to develop this inner strength.
Okay.
This ability to find flow and contentment even when there's no external stimulation.
Like what?
One key is to cultivate a rich inner life.
So like developing hobbies and interests that engage our minds and our imaginations.
Exactly. It's about rediscovering the joy of reading, of writing, of having deep conversations, you know, pursuing intellectual pursuits that challenge us and broaden our understanding of the world.
It's like reclaiming our attention from all the demands of the outside world.
Yes.
And redirecting it inward.
Yes.
Cultivating a sense of peace and contentment that comes from within.
And it's not just about solitude.
Okay.
Flow also emphasizes finding flow in our relationships with others.
That's interesting because relationships can be such a source of both joy and frustration.
For sure.
So how do we cultivate relationships that actually contribute to flow instead of hindering it?
It comes down to approaching those relationships with the same intentionality and mindfulness that we bring to other flow activities.
So investing time and energy in building genuine connections.
Yes.
Really understanding each other's needs and aspirations.
Okay, yeah.
And creating shared experiences that encourage growth and flow.
Exactly. The book highlights things like clear communication,
Right.
active listening, and being present in the moment with the people we care about.
It's like creating a space where we can be ourselves. Where we can challenge each other and grow together. And experience the joy of connection and the fulfillment of working towards shared goals.
I love that, and this idea of finding flow in relationships.
Yeah.
It extends beyond our personal connections. It reaches into our communities and society as a whole.
So it's not just an individual pursuit.
Yeah.
It's something we can cultivate collectively.
Flow says yes.
Wow.
Imagine communities that are designed to foster flow, where people feel connected to a shared purpose, where there are opportunities for challenge and growth everywhere.
It's a hopeful vision.
Yeah.
A society that values intrinsic rewards over extrinsic ones.
Yes.
Where people find meaning and fulfillment in their work, their relationships, and their contributions to the greater good.
It sounds idealistic, right?
Yeah.
But the book suggests that this vision isn't unattainable.
Really?
It's about shifting our values, recognizing the importance of creating environments that nurture flow, and empowering people to take control of their experiences and create a world that's more conducive to optimal living.
I love that. Empowering people to create a world that's more conducive to optimal living.
And this idea, it connects back to how flow experiences help us build a more complex self.
Right.
That balance of individuality and connection that Csikszentmihalyi says is so important for both personal fulfillment and societal well-being.
It's a powerful vision.
Yeah.
A world where people are encouraged to follow their passions, develop their talents,
Yes.
and contribute their gifts to a society that values diversity and interconnectedness.
And Flow says this isn't just some utopian dream.
Okay.
It's a real possibility if we're willing to embrace the principles of flow.
Yeah.
Cultivate a mindset of curiosity and engagement, and work together to create a world that's more conducive to a life well lived.
Reading Flow, it really challenges how we usually think about evolution.
Yeah.
It's not just about adapting to our surroundings. It's about actively shaping them.
Right. We're not just along for the ride. We're creating it as we go.
Yeah, and that connects to finding flow not just in our personal lives, but also in how we contribute to society.
Exactly. When we pursue our own growth and master our skills and do things that we enjoy, we're actually contributing to the evolution of consciousness.
Wow, that's a pretty big idea.
It is.
It's like we're all part of this massive puzzle, and by striving to live a life full of flow, we're adding our own piece.
The book describes what a culture of flow might look like.
Okay.
It's a society that values intrinsic rewards over external ones.
Okay.
Where people are encouraged to follow their passions.
Right.
And where institutions are designed to foster creativity and growth.
So a world where people feel a sense of purpose and belonging, and where work is fulfilling.
Yes.
And where leisure time is used for active engagement.
It sounds kind of utopian.
It does. Yeah. But is it actually possible?
Well, it's a huge challenge, but Flow offers a roadmap.
Okay.
A set of principles that can guide us toward a world that's more flow-friendly.
So, like, practically speaking, where do we start?
It starts with each person taking responsibility for their own experiences, learning to find flow in their everyday life, cultivating that curious and engaged mindset, and striving to live in a way that aligns with their values.
So internal changes first.
Yeah, but it extends to families, communities, institutions,
Right.
We have to create environments that support growth and encourage creativity and give people opportunities to really connect with what they're passionate about.
So it's this two-pronged approach, individual transformation and societal evolution.
Working together to create a world where flow can flourish.
That sounds like a huge undertaking.
It is, but flow suggests that the rewards are worth it.
Okay.
A life full of joy and purpose and deep fulfillment, not just for ourselves, but for future generations.
So if we had to boil everything down to one takeaway for our listeners today, what would it be?
I think the biggest message is that we have the power to shape our own experiences.
Yeah.
To find flow, to create meaning in our lives.
Okay.
It's not about waiting for things to change around us.
Right.
It's about taking control.
What about you? What stood out to you most about flow?
That idea of empowerment You know, we're not just passive bystanders.
Right.
We have the ability to choose.
To create?
Yeah, to cultivate flow and meaning in our lives.
And remember, this is just the start of your deep dive into flow.
Yeah, keep exploring these ideas.
See how you can use them in your own life.
Think about how a flow mindset could transform not just our individual lives, but also our workplaces, our families, our communities.
What would a world like that look like? It's something to think about as you continue your exploration of flow.
Keep striving to be 1% better every day.